So I want to welcome everyone to this session for Softchalk. We sometimes call this Innovators in Online Learning, but this is also done as part of the Open Education Week effort. We have two presenters today that will show you the magic they have done from flat text to really interactive text. And today's session is co-sponsored by Softchalk and by Open Doors Group and College Open Textbook. And Jim will talk to you more about that in a few moments. But before we move beyond that, I want to just go through the Gotowebinar Interface. And let me see if I can get the pointer out here. Okay, so you can minimize the panel. There's this button here, and you can make that go into a teeny little bar that you see right here and off to the right of your screen. And you would click the button again to get it back. Now, if you have comments or questions, this is the space to do it, and we're hoping that we get a lot of questions in the future, so we can do that during the session. And we will respond here. All four of us have access to the question box, so we will be responding to you there. Some of them we may save for questions during the questionnaire period. When we are all done, we will wait and see about that. The other thing I should point out is that we've muted everybody's mic except the mics that are on the presenter's computer, because there's a bunch of people showing up and we don't want the background noise interfering. We can open your mic individually if you have a particular question that we need clarification on, so that is something we can do and will do if that seems like a good plan. So what I'm going to do next is invite Jim to talk about the Open Doors Group and College Open Textbook. It's all yours.
Okay, can you hear me fine?
We are hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Just a little background about what ODG and COT is. ODG stands for the Open Doors Group, and COT is College Open Textbooks. I would suspect that a number of you know about College Open Textbooks, especially if you're in higher education. We're an organization that drives awareness, adoptions, and affordability of open textbooks, primarily for community colleges and other two-year institutions of higher education. But we go beyond that sometimes. ODG, Open Doors Group, is an umbrella organization, and COT falls within that, and then there's some other activities that Open Doors Group is doing, trying to pursue innovation in open education. And we have several areas where we have skills open doors, where we're looking at providing skills to people in companies using open educational resources. We have Mentors Open Doors, where we're mentoring, setting up a mentor thing with a company called Mentor Cloud to provide mentoring so mentors and mentees can join. We have several others. You can go to opendoorsgroup.org, all one word, opendoorsgroup.org, and look at the website. It's not real fancy yet, but it gives you some basic information. Talk a little bit more about college open textbooks. Like I said, we're driving awareness, adoptions, and affordability. It's been around for about over 4 or 5 years. We started under a Hewlett grant, but we have a Ning site, which is a social collaboration site, which is collegeopentextbooks.ning.com. So again, it's one word, collegeopentextbooks.ning.com. And we have over 1,100 members of the collaborative. Within that, we have adopter communities. We have 8 directly related to us and 3 others that we are sort of connected with. Includes things like algebra, art history, ed psych, grammar, and, the list goes on. I would also like to mention we have a website, which is, guess, collegeopentextbooks.org. So again, one word, collegeopentextbooks.org. And on that site, we have a catalog of 700 to 800 textbooks. We're not a repository, but we do have a catalog, and we also do peer reviewing of some of the books. And so some of the books will have peer review summaries. And then we have some help with how to adopt open textbooks. We're working on badges with Mozilla's Open Badges Initiative. And we have a blog. And we provide some help and assistance through the NING, especially with adoption help for people who want to adopt open resources. So that's basically it. We're delighted to have Softchalk as a member of the collaborative. I believe it was last year, Softchalk engineered an excellent 4-webinar introduction to open educational resources. Attracted hundreds of participants and got a lot of people to join our collaborative. And we feel that Softchalk's tools really enhance open education resources to engage 21st century learners, and that's basically what this is all about. So that's it, and take it away.
Okay, thank you. Actually, there's a couple things I want to follow through on. The question came from the question box saying, can we see those 4 webinars that that Softchalk and College Open Textbooks and Open Doors Group and about half a dozen other organizations dealing with open educational resources helped to sponsor? Yes, they are all, the archives are all available on the Softchalk website. Go to intro, what is it? Learn more. And there's a couple tabs down there, one with partners and one with innovators, and you will find it in one or both of those places. The other thing I want to do, and we should have done this a moment ago, but let's talk about open educational resources and who our audience is in terms of what you know about them, how familiar you are, whether you've used them. And so I've got the poll up, and nobody has responded. There you go. People are starting to respond. I was worried that technology wasn't working. So let us know your experience with open educational resources. It's a multiple kind of response one, so you can both be familiar with open educational resources and you're using OER content and you've developed OER content. So, I'm expecting that these numbers will be over 100%, which they are. Let me give a few of you. Those about 2/3 of you have responded. Now we're at about 3/4, so I'm delighted. And then I will stop this, and I am going to show. I'm going to close in the poll, and let me share the poll. Very interesting. You're familiar with open educational resources is very high, and almost half of you are beginning to create OER content. Well, you will hear from some content developers in a moment. So thanks for your input, and let me talk a little bit about Softchalk. Softchalk's been helping you, the educator, collaboratively create content and connect it in the cloud and inspire learning online and in the electronic classroom. Softchalk is award-winning. You can see all the awards at the bottom of the screen, and that is because we've been inspiring educators in learning for over a decade. This is our 10th anniversary year. Our mission is to provide a simple to use yet powerful e-learning solution designed to meet the specific needs of educators, and we have had a lot of popularity in the OER market, as you will see today. By empowering you to transform your course material into active, engaging e-learning content. Softchalk can help you meet the needs of today's modern learner. It's a desktop application. It works on Windows and Macintosh. You can create content, but it runs in a web format. So it runs in a whole variety of places. It can be integrated into your learning management system, put it on a tablet or smartphone, burn it to a CD-ROM, put it in any web server. And one of the really great things, and you'll see this, is that you can integrate material from all over the web. Softchalk Connect is a cloud-based learning object repository, and it includes Softchalk content that can be shared and enhanced and made available. So we use Creative Commons licensing so folks elsewhere can use it. We have an enhanced version of Connect called Connect Plus, which allows you to collaborate with the building of the content and controlling access to the content for limiting students to just use it, and you are also able to track grades and content. Let me go one page down. Now what I'm supposed to do right here is introduce our speakers. Now the problem I have is that I failed to bring that information up on my desktop, so I am trying to do that now so that I can do a decent job of telling you who our speakers are. So I am sort of adjusting quickly to the world I hadn't planned for as well as I should have. So let me tell you about first Jackie Kane. Jackie Kane has been teaching English composition series in online and traditional platforms for over 6 years, and developmental level reading and writing for the past 3. She's committed to open access to education, where that means developing basic skills courses for online students or creating open education resources to make education affordable. Ms. Kane has presented at several conferences, including EDUCAUSE and the Pacific Northwest Higher Education Teaching and Learning Conference, and her work for the Open Course Library project was mentioned in Newsweek. She's currently working on her 4th OER project while working in the College of the Redwoods in Eureka, California. So having said that, I'm going to turn this over to Jackie, and she can show you the wonders that she has done.
Hi, so this is Jackie Kane. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you can. Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Steve. I just was going to take a little bit of time and talk about my experience with other OER projects and how they have led to what I'm doing now, and then I'm going to let you guys see some of the projects that I'm doing in Softchalk, and we can talk about those. So the very first project I got involved in was back in 2009, which was the Open Course Library project for the state of Washington, and for that I developed an entirely online modularized open education resource that was a pre-composition course. And I did that using some short stories from Sherlock Holmes, which I got from Project Gutenberg. Then I got asked if I was interested in participating with Project Kaleidoscope. And Project Kaleidoscope partners colleges from across the nation to use existing OER resources, not necessarily developing new ones, to see if they're effective, to test them, to say, you know, if people are developing these resources, how do we know that they work, or are they as good or better than non-open sources that we use in the classroom. And we were going to collect data on the curriculum effectiveness and also collect data on how much we're saving the students. So I was part of the developmental reading team, which include representatives from Shabbat College, who developed a pre-freshman seminar reading course. Mercy College in New York developed an online freshman seminar course, and I developed a interactive reader to use for the reading curriculum for a basic skills course that I teach at College of the Redwoods. Now at College of the Redwoods, my basic skills course covers reading and writing, and I only focused on the reading curriculum team, part for that. So we spent the summer developing our curriculum, and now we're all testing it out. These are the other content areas that were covered by Project Kaleidoscope, and that includes, well, you can see them up here, so I won't read them to you. They're right now looking at extending and expanding the project, and so there are going to be more opportunities for those of you who might be interested in becoming a part of the future of the Kaleidoscope project. So to talk a little bit about the course that I was focusing on for this reader, unlike the other course that I developed for Washington, which was pre-composition, this was very much a very basic academic literacy course. The students that I have all test below an 8th grade reading level on the AccuPlacer. I have several students that are reading at about the 5th and 6th grade reading level. The class size is limited to only 20 students. It is taught face-to-face but in a computer lab, so it's a hybrid course. It's also 6 semester units, which means my students meet with me almost 9 hours a week. It's very intensive. And for those of you who are interested, the LMS for this project was we used Sakai. So let's see. I chose detective fiction for the last project and for this one, specifically because there's a lot of research that says detective fiction is particularly good for low-level learners, so it's very good for developmental level students. Because it's highly motivating, because the students want to figure out what happens in it, and it also touches on all these low but also higher order reading and language skills, everything from basic vocabulary all the way up to inferential thinking. But also because the stories that we selected have a multicultural focus, and it was really easy for us to bring the discussion of things happening in the book into their current lives. So before I go on to the next one, I actually want to show you so you get to actually see what I developed. So I'm going to open this window up here. And this is let's shrink that. This is the reader that I developed for basic academic literacy, the class I'm teaching right now. It just starts out, we're doing Hound of the Baskervilles. It's very convenient. There's 15 chapters in the book, and I have 15 weeks in my class. So as you can see, I could put in illustrations from the original book. Softchalk allows me to go ahead and do pop-up rollover information. So if people wanted to know why everyone was carrying walking sticks, it explains that this was actually an accessory that men carried back then. But it also allowed me to do other really fun things. For example, oops, this is scrolling too fast. Pick up this one. I got illustrations from the book, but I picked this chapter because it had something really interesting in it. At one point in the book, there's the sound on the moor, he says, is the booming of a bittern. And I had no idea what that was, and I was sure my students wouldn't. So I went online, and of course I could find an actual video of an American bittern, which was a rare bird and makes a booming sound, and so we could actually listen to that in class. And the students really liked that. This is when they're talking about ancient prehistoric land, houses that were out on the moor. I found actual photographs of them so they could see what the characters in the story were looking at. The other thing that the students really enjoyed about this reader is that this is available and can be viewed on a smartphone, which I actually didn't even know because previously it hadn't come up. But the students love the fact that they could use this reader in class on the computers, but most of the class with smartphones, when they're commuting on the bus, could actually log in and get everything to work on their phones, so they could access this pretty much from anywhere, and they really like that a lot. The other thing I did as part of the project, that was the Softchalk element, is then of course there was the curriculum that was aligned to all of it. So for instance, this would be a standard lesson that I would have already existing on how to find the main idea in a paragraph, and then there was a quiz after it. So what I did for this class, again, not trying to develop new OER, but taking existing curriculum that I had, was customize it to the new reader. So here, for example, is the quiz that they took on how to find the main idea, but after we study the unit on how to do that, they test themselves with this is a non-graded quiz, and this is all from things from the chapter that they just read from the Hound of the Baskervilles. So everything was tied together to reinforce close reading of the text and to make them really take advantage of the reader and get them more invested in the curriculum. So this is the project that actually I taught last semester, and I'm currently teaching this semester. Another project I'm working on was one that Jim mentioned sort of briefly. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. and that was the College Open Textbook. And he mentioned that collegeopentextbook.ning.com is a site where all the projects for College Open Textbooks are there, including the one that I'm working on. So if anybody wants to know more about the Indigenous Peoples Reader that I'm developing, you could go to collegeopentextbooks.ning and you can type in Indigenous Peoples Reader or my name, and you'll go directly to the site that will give you more information about this project. What I did for this award was to take the curriculum and say there's a need here from the Hupa Nation, which is the largest Indian reservation in the state of California, in that they're trying to teach developmental level reading and writing skills, but they're really having a difficulty about the curriculum that's available. There isn't really any open source curriculum that they could use that's for basic skills. But the curriculum that they do have, the books that they are buying, they're not being very successful. And the feedback they're getting from the students is that the curriculum that is available is not relevant to the student population. They have classes where this entire student population basically have virtually almost never been off the reservation. They lived their whole lives there. And so when they're getting these books, they're having such difficulty understanding what the larger meaning, the social context is, that they were having a hard time with the reading curriculum in general. So what I decided to do is for College Open Textbooks, I'm going to go back to this now, was develop the Indigenous Peoples Reader Project, where I created a reader, and I'm using indigenous folk stories from First Nation peoples or tribes from around the world. So I'm using African folk stories, Tibetan, Russian, and I pulled up some examples because this is actually a work in project right now. Here are two that I did. I'm just going to show you real quick. This one's from the Hawaiian Islands, and it illustrates it with pictures, so when they talk about the various plants and how they're walking through the jungles or the forests, you can see what those look like. Also photographs of what people will wear when they were doing traditional hula. And then, because this is about how people went to hula school, I found an actual video of people at hula school on the Big Island, and so they can actually see what it's like with the things that the people are experiencing in the story that they just read. And just real quick, here's another one I'm doing also in Softchalk. This is from Pacific Northwest Native American tribes. And this one, the first one here, is from the Columbia River area, which is on the border of Oregon and Washington. And it takes place on the Multnomah Falls. So I have actual pictures of what those people look like at the forts around 1890. So these are the actual people involved in the story. And then here's another one from the Inuits, which is actually these people from Alaska. And again, I found actual videos that say these are the people in the story, and here they are doing the singing that was just talked about in the story. And so it's a way of really getting the students involved with the curriculum and making it relevant to their experiences. So finally, just really quick, because I don't have any, the last project I'm working on right now, which is also mostly, it's 90% open source, is for Humboldt State University. I'm designing their early start online orientation with the information is there. You can just read it off the slide. And this is actually being beta tested right now using Moodle, and it's going to go live over the summer. And this one I just took a screen capture so you could just sort of see what this looks like. This would be one module on how to do science writing. And so it gives them a lecture on what that looks like, how to write the reports, and then it gives them an exercise. And this was from MIT, because as most of you know, MIT is a great place to find open education resources because they're putting all the curriculum out there for free. So we're having them look at a science report that was a poster project done by MIT, and then having them analyze it using a rubric to see whether or not it's really good science writing or not. And so that's what I'm working on for them. Of the 15 modules I developed for HSU, 14 are going to be open education resources, and they're going to be released under Creative Commons. One unit I couldn't get the copyright clearance on it, so that one's not going to be Creative Commons, but the other 14 are. And so here's just a slide that has the links to all the different projects that I'm working on if you want to learn more about those. And so I think that was my presentation.
Thank you, Jackie. That was great.
See, I should try to pull this back up, see if I have any questions.
Yeah, there are a couple questions out there. One has to do with whether you're using Score Center for your activities, or are you using Sakai as your LMS, and how are you handling grading and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm not doing any because of for right now, because of the class I'm teaching right now, it's a reading and writing course, and only the writing curriculum is that. I'm not using the gradebook. I'm not using the Softchalk features for grading because it doesn't really work with what I'm doing with the other part. So I'm keeping my own separate gradebook. But I have used the gradebook for other projects. But just because this class is sort of like half and half, it didn't really seem to work.
Okay.
Oh,
all right,
the person who has the other question, it's Ning with an N-I-N-G.
Right, right. Yeah, and Jim actually had typed the entire URL into the response, so everybody can see that. So we're good there. So I think it's time to transition unless there's another question, and we can always go back and respond to the questions as well after Melissa's session. So let me, oh, come on, let me turn my slideshow back on. I'm having a little bit of trouble. There we go. And change the presenter to me. And I think you, let me show you the slide again, and let me give you an opportunity to introduce Melissa to you. And let's see how I can do that. I know what went wrong. I may have to make an adjustment here. Okay, let's go back here and let me get, so I can read the material. I'm having trouble managing this space as of the moment. So I'm going to talk about Melissa. Melissa Atterbury is a graduate of Sam Houston State University, where she earned a Master in Education with an emphasis in instructional technology. Her previous experience includes serving as a teacher for 6 years, providing staff development and educational technologies for schools, and serving as the learning specialist for math and science at the Spring ISD Virtual School. She is currently an instructional designer for the Lone Star College system. So having said that, let me turn this page over to you, Melissa.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, hear you and see you.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, just to give you a little bit of background information, we were starting a project with dual credit online. And one thing we were wanting to do is open it up to all over the state of Texas. So all of those small towns that might not have the resources, the teachers, and maybe not even the money in order to buy the textbooks, we wanted to make it a lot more affordable to them. So we started to look into open educational resources because there's so much out there for free. And what I did find was in the history course, I found a man that had written his own textbook online. And this is just one of the chapters out of his textbook, and it's over World War II. And as you can see, this is what I got was, for this chapter, was an 87-page PDF document. So as you can imagine, with 87 pages, that's going to be a lot of scrolling and a lot of words on the page. And if you know students today, they see that much and they are immediately overwhelmed before they get through the first paragraph. So I wanted to try and take his content and chunk it into smaller pieces, and Softchalk was just the answer for me to be able to do that. So this is what I did in Softchalk, was take it and take it down into smaller chunks. So they're actually reading the same amount of material, but it just doesn't look quite as overwhelming because the scrolling is minimized. Another great thing is I could add in links. So if this particular topic or something was really interesting to a student, they could find links that would link them out to more information on this topic. The pop-ups, so whenever there was a word or something that was unfamiliar to them, they scroll over that and then they will be able to see exactly what that word meant. This right here, I actually embedded sound, and we'll see if it So that right there was the British Prime Minister. This is when he declared war. So the students can actually hear the radio broadcast that went out when England went to war. And I just, that's something you don't get from a PDF document. Other things that you can do are adding in a lot of the pictures. This one right here is using the photo album so that they can see more pictures and little snippets about those pictures. And something that Softchalk does that, for those of you who are worried about accessibility and 508 compliancy, is it automatically adds that in, and you don't even have to do anything about it. So you click on this, and those who have to use screen readers, for your blind students or anything, it automatically adds in all of the stuff for the screen readers for you. So there's no programming involved, nothing that you have to do. It does it for you automatically. You can add in flash videos. You can add in just streaming videos. Another thing I used with the text popper was I made the pictures pop. This way the pictures didn't overwhelm the screen, but I wanted them to be able to make them bigger and maybe add a little bit more to them. And so by using the text popper, I was able to make those pictures just pop out so that you can see more detail. And of course, one of my favorite features is being able to either stream video or add videos. So that right there is an actual newsreel that came out about the Holocaust, and it's very graphic, and it's what they would have seen in the movie theater when they went to the movies back then and watched those newsreels before the movies. And then you can also add in any kind of self-checks like quizzes. You can do them as a self-check or you can do them as a graded item. And with Softchalk, there's many different ways that you can do it. You can do it with a scoring package where the LMS will score it and automatically add those grades to the gradebook. You can use the scoring center or email. And that way you can actually score your students on their quizzes. And then another great feature that they just added to Softchalk is the iframe, where you can embed entire websites into the Softchalk, and these websites are completely interactive within this Softchalk. So by adding in different websites, you have a whole lot more resources now available to you, and the students really aren't ever leaving their lesson. So, since Jackie, she's covered a lot of the other things on OER and everything, I just kind of wanted to show the different aspects of how you can use Softchalk to take some of these OER content and put them into something that is a lot more interactive, brings a lot more options to the table so that you can add in the sound and the video and the pictures and websites and just really make the lesson come alive.
You're hunting for something new to show them, huh?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I think I've shown everything and everyone covered everything about OER so well. I just wanted to show how you can take that OER content and place it into Softchalk and, you have it into smaller chunks. You have different ways that you can present it, and you can just add so much more detail and links and grading items. And with Softchalk, they have, I mean, not only just the multiple choice questions, but you can add in essay questions, you can add in crossword puzzles, tabbed information. I mean, and all of it is so simple to use. I mean, if you can make a Word document, you can basically create a Softchalk.
Yeah, I am responding, and I'll say it out loud. Somebody asked that which tool activity allows the embedding of other sites into a lesson. And what I'm saying is the iframe features allow you to integrate any document or website into a Softchalk lesson. There you go. I'm going to say send it to all.
Yeah, so that was actually a new feature in the current Softchalk. If you are using an older version of Softchalk, you could actually do it with the iframe code in a widget. But the new Softchalk does have the iframe code, so all you have to do is copy the URL of it, and when you insert activity, you insert iframe, and you just paste the URL right in there, and your website will come up.
Okay, how do they get hold of your World War II lesson?
The World War II lesson is found on the Softchalk Connect, and I do believe if you go to Softchalk Connect, it is on the front page.
Right, softchalkconnect.com. You will see that there's a whole collection of lessons, learning activities, quizzes. So thousands of people have shared their content with each other using, the Softchalk content. So it's available there quite readily. One of the questions that has come up, and that has been about the slideshow I use, which includes the slide that Jim used for College Open Textbook and Open Doors, and the slideshow that Jackie used. Would they be available? And Jackie, I think that won't be a problem. Am I right?
Yeah, that's absolutely no problem whatsoever. Steve, you actually have a copy of the PowerPoint. You can forward it out to anybody who wants it. If you want to put it up on the Softchalk site, that's fine with me. And I'd also be happy to email it to anybody who contacts me. So
my suggestion is that when you exit this webinar, you will go to an exit survey. And one of the survey questions is, do you want to know more about the work being done by all the environments, by Jackie, by Melissa, by College Open Textbook and Open Doors and Softchalk. And there's also a text area, say anything else. In that area, say, I want the slides from, and then just sort of list whether you want Jackie's slides, whether you want my slides, and we will send them to you. Somebody's asked about cost, and I hate to do this, but I really don't want to talk about Softchalk and cost at this point in this webinar. It's really about open educational resources. Softchalk is a for-profit company, don't get me wrong, so there is a fee, and we will sell individual licenses and multiple packs, and I will have somebody get hold of you to talk about that and go from there. Christopher asked about how well the Softchalk lessons work on iPads, Androids, and the like, and Melissa sort of talked a bit about that. You want to talk a little bit again about your students' experience?
Yeah, I think it was Jackie that did talk about that.
Oh, Jackie. Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just saying that when I was doing the first one for Washington, it never came up. But then when I was doing the one this semester for the Hound of the Baskervilles, I had a rule that students aren't allowed to use phones in the classroom, and then I noticed a bunch of students had the phones out, and I said, you're supposed to be reading, and they showed me that they were actually looking at the Softchalk reader on their phone, and I couldn't read it because I've got bad eyesight. I'm an old lady, but they can read. They could read it. So basically, if you can get on the internet, if you have any phone or tablet that has access to the web, these work.
The other thing
you still see my screen, you can bottom of the Softchalk, there is a link right there that says mobile page. So if you click on that link, it does convert it into a more mobile-friendly view.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yes, yes, indeed. Some, like the tablets and iPads can view an entire website just as well as on most laptops. But the iPhones, etc., all the Android phones and smartphones, we will convert it so that it is presentable on a mobile environment, on even the tablets, or I'm sorry, even the smartphones. So that again, as we said, a lot of stuff happens automatically, the mobile access as well as accessibility issues. So there's a lot that we do in the background. Christopher asked about Flash. Flash. There are about a dozen Flash activities in Softchalk that will not render on an iPhone or an iPad. However, as I believe Melissa pointed out, there is an automatic accessibility button that will give you alternate text for those as well. And Softchalk is very actively converting all of our content, our Flash content, into HTML5. So on our next release, which is due in May, end of May, June timeframe, we will figure out whether or not they can render Flash or not, and we will deliver to them the appropriate rendering of the activity. So we're on top of that, and we're aware that it's a problem. Trying to think if there's more information here. Does mobile access work on Kindles? I do not think that the Kindle Fire will be fine, but the old traditional Kindle is just going to read PDF stuff, that kind of content. At least that's my understanding. Does somebody out there have another thought on that, maybe more experience with Kindle? I use a Kindle reader to read books all the time, but that's all that my Kindle reader does. And Kindle Fox, as it is more like a tablet and will render in the same way that we talked about, the tablet's doing.
Steve, Della asked if we had to have a special app to use to access this on the smartphones, and I answered it, but I'm not sure if it came up in the window, and the answer is no. I just get in through my browser. So I don't have an app to use to look at the content on my smartphone. I have a Droid, and I have other people with iPhones, and they don't have to have an app. So.
Right. No, there is no special app. You just open whatever browser you have on your smartphone or tablet, and it renders automatically that way. So there's no special technology to make this happen. Christopher comments that JavaScript has to be activated, and that may be a question for some of our quizzes are done in JavaScript, so that could be an issue, although I haven't personally run across it. Okay, can you explain again about knowing whether the user will be able to use Flash or HTML5? Let me tell you, this is our plan at Softchalk. We are planning, and the developer are still working out the details, that we will determine what kind of browser you're working from, and if it's one that doesn't work with Flash, we will deliver the HTML5 content of that particular activity. So the kind of activities that you were seeing can be rendered either way, and it is our plan. Don't say I promised anything, because this is on the drawing boards, but our plan is to make it seamless to the user. Depending on their browser, we'll deliver whatever they need to see. And the current mobile activities in Softchalk 7 are HTML5. Yes, we have about half a dozen mobile activities, but we will be expanding and making HTML5 the standard for our activities moving forward. I'm going to move the presenter back to me and talk a little bit about where we are. And you keep bringing in questions. Of course, we're not quite done yet, but I do want to say that, we have a bunch of ways for you to learn more about Softchalk, and there have been a lot of Softchalk questions, so I just want to make a point that you can come to our website. We have newsletters that you can sign up for. We have quick tour videos. If you don't have Softchalk, not from an institution that has it, download the 30-day free trial. and use it to your heart's content. It is a full-blown version. It just stops working after 30 days. But any content you create will still be available. And finally, if I may, this is the contact information for all of us. So I'm going to leave it on that screen for a while and go from there. Well, actually, someone's asking me to do something, and let me see if I can do that. Let me find a browser, and let me go to Softchalk Connect. And you can log in or not, but I'll log in. Okay. See if I remember my password. There we go. So let me go home, because one of the things you will see is that we have a bunch of lessons that have just put up there in the last few days, and we have a way for you to rate lessons. And as Melissa promised you, you could see her content on the front page of our Softchalk Connect webinar. And so it brings it up. You will recognize this, I believe. And you can get the hyperlink and then just show it in its own page. Or you can get the embed code. And this is an iframe. You notice that it automatically comes with the iframe code. And this way you can put it inside of Softchalk. We automatically create the iframe. Let me go back about iframe. If you got the hyperlink, this piece, and copied it, you would go into Softchalk and say, I want the iframe opportunity feature, and then you put this URL inside the iframe feature. But we've already done that, and there's an embed opportunity option feature in Softchalk, and if you get the embed one, we will provide you with all the iframe content. So we have made everything easy for you to integrate other content into your lesson. So I think that helps explain that, and I think one more thing I'll do, as long as I've got my browser open, or maybe I just go to Softchalk from here. Yep, I've got to go to Softchalk. Somebody asked about the OER webinar series that is out there, and as I said, if you go to Learn More and go to our partner webinars, because it was done with a whole series of partners, you will see that we have all the OER 1, 2, a Blackboard session we did, 3 and 4. We worked with ReadSpeaker and other partners on a whole series of webinars over the last several months. So they're all listed there. Learn More, partners. So let me go to our home page and just let you know that there's a lot you can do in terms of finding out about Softchalk. But what I want to do is go back to the PowerPoint and end there, because I want to end it with access to information about us all. Now, you'll get a post-webinar session email tomorrow afternoon, and in it we'll have all the links we talked about. So a lot of the information that we talked about will be in the post-session email you'll get tomorrow, as well as information about our emails, etc. So you don't have to hurriedly write this down. You will get all that in an email tomorrow. And in that email tomorrow, you will also get information about